Hey there! Did you know Kroger always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices? And when you download the Kroger app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Kroger today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
You ready?
Showtime.
On May 3rd, summer starts with The Fall Guy.
Let's do it later.
Let's drink a spicy margarita.
Make some bad decisions.
Yes!
Audiences are falling in love with the most entertaining film of the year.
Fall Guy.
Fall Guy?
Fall Guy.
That's what the poster said.
See Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt in the movie critics say exists to make you happy.
Trying to make it out?
Nope.
Because I don't either. It's not what I'm into right now.
What are you into?
Talking.
Yeah.
The Fall Guy. Only in theaters May 3rd. Rated PG-13.
Time to let the little ones get all of that energy out. Big Air Trampoline Park inside Fieldhouse USA at the Polaris Mall has your little ones covered with toddler time. Each Wednesday and Thursday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., open only for jumpers 6 and under, the little ones can jump at their own speed and comfort level without the older kids around. It's a safe, fun outlet for your toddler's energy, and they'll feel right at home on all of the attractions. Plus, they'll have the best nap ever afterwards. Big Air Columbus, where the fun never ends. Visit bigairusa.com/Columbus for details.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to anfieldindexpro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Post-Conference Presser for Anfield Index. Sad to say, in a way, ladies and gents, this is one of the last 5 that we'll ever talk about with Jurgen Klopp at the helm. So we'll do the normal. We'll talk about the questions, the answers that he gave. We'll talk about the clues from the last game at Fulham. We'll talk about the threats that Everton bring and a Merseyside derby and all encompasses. And then we'll do the normal predicted lineup and score. It's been a funny day a little bit, hasn't it, for this one? I think it's important to say that realistically there's been manager talk abuzz and people have almost forgotten that there is a derby about to take place tomorrow night. But make no mistake, this is massive for all clubs. And Jurgen Klopp was trying to get that across in the press conference in his calm manner. You kind of get the feeling that, and it's okay to say this, he's getting a bit tired of some of the questions, which is understandable, but let's talk about it. It's the first one, as ever, to Sky Vinny O'Connor, asking about a number of facets to this question. His last Merseyside derby, the importance for both clubs and how he feels about it overall. So what did Jurgen Klopp say? He said, it's super important for both of us, and it's clear for us. We don't have to say it again and again and again. I just did an interview with your colleague at Sky, and the thing is, I don't know when my first derby was, but before you came here, I couldn't say that's my game of the year immediately. I didn't feel it, but then meanwhile, I know it from others, and it's clear. My feelings developed, and so did my understanding over the years, rightly so. And they're always difficult games, especially there at Goodison Park. At home, they tend to be more comfortable. We only lost to Carlo, who everyone knows is a good manager. It's not too important, though, what happened in the past. We should have a proper try, and that's what we'll do. This one hypes itself a little bit, doesn't it, realistically? I mean, Everton, with their points deduction, the whole thing they've got going on, fighting relegation. There's us, still in the midst of a potential league title challenge, still in it with 5 games. The other ends of the scale, the teams, everything that goes into it, the hostility, the nature of this. They'll try and push the red card angle, even though there's not been that many in recent years. All those things, it naturally writes itself. It is the one, and Klopp was honest about this, maybe he didn't look at it straight away, but he knows it's the one we look for on the calendar, isn't it? What are the dates home and away? Don't care if it's wife's birthday, whatever it is, they are not getting missed. And it's funny you mentions that Ancelotti one, isn't it, where they won 2-0. Funny Everton fans with this one, isn't it? Because our league title doesn't count. As they love to tell you, it's got an asterisk. It's not real because of COVID and everything that happened. So if that's not real, then you'd never beat us in a derby, have you? Because that one that's played behind closed doors, that can't count. The league title doesn't count. That result can't count either, surely. Funny that, isn't it? But anyway, yeah, Jurgen was quite straight about that. We'll have a proper try, and that's what we'll do. All his focus is on tomorrow night. He was also asked about is the biggest challenge they could face with this game, and he said the intensity and Goodison Park can create a good atmosphere too. Even for players, it's like that, and this is more than 3 points. We'll never get underestimated, though, when we arrive there. I remember the 4-1, I remember the 1-0 with Mane, the late one. There were some stories, but it's not important, and we need to make sure we're ready for this one. Yeah, they just want to ruin everything for us. They are desperate to be able to say, we stopped your title challenge. Even though that's not really the case, that is what they're desperate to say, realistically, isn't it? They would shake hands on a draw right now, just to be crystal clear. Don't get it twisted. As long as they don't lose, they would love to be able to say, well, you didn't win, that's you gone, we've ruined it for you. That is what they will go with. Also, a point for them in the current situation after they won at the weekend would just make it quite nice. So think about that, the biggest challenge. They'll try and make it hostile. One thing I do like, and as much as people sort of take the piss out of Goodison and its old stadium and it's rotted and all that, and the new stadium, all those types of things, there's part of me will miss that stadium in a way. And what I mean by that is that old school stadium, because people going, oh, we haven't got a happy hunting ground there. And I get that. It's not always been the best for us, especially for Jurgen Klopp, despite his record. But that old school stadium where you're right on top of players, literally, it does have an atmosphere. And let's be honest, sometimes we love it when they're going mental and screaming. And we love saying things like Everton wives, run for your lives and all this type of stuff. But you do miss those old school stadiums, especially when the modern ones are a bit soulless, aren't they? You look at that West Ham style, cities, all these. Yeah, these are modern stadiums. So there is a little bit of me will be sad about that when it does go. If it does go, that's a different discussion, eh? So, Greg's question was asked about, the chances of a trophy, with title race, already got one in the cabinet, and how proud he is of the season. He wasn't stiffy with this, but interesting the way he answered. I didn't think about it in terms of pride. I would love to go back to whichever point it was and think, well, what will happen? But you just never know. We're Liverpool. We're always ambitious. And we knew last season was not so great. So it's super important we qualify for the Champions League. That's the most important thing for the club, definitely, as everyone knows. And it looks good in that department. But that's all. We're here, we're where we are, and we want to win all the games. But that was the first from the initial match day. It's the same. You try to win them all. Until 2 weeks ago, everything was better than anyone expected. And then we had this weeks where the performance was not as bad as the results felt after. We had one of the best games ever against United, and it started with all this. We didn't score enough for stuff like this. There are two teams that actually scored more than us, but it's not like they've scored 50 more than us. Everyone writes about how we can get the right feeling again for this situation and the next game. So it's really that we're happy with that response. We did win at Atalanta, and it feels like that doesn't count. And even after the Fulham win, I heard people say it was not really good. So I'm very positive, and not in a strange way. I want to see things that are brighter than they are. But I know this is the last part of the season, and it's not about playing the freest football of the year, because you can't expect that, but you have to win games. We know how to do that, but we have to understand from today how we want to play, and we'll try. Quite a bit to unpack from that lengthy answer. I get he doesn't look at it. He's never going to look at it the same way fans this game at a time. And there is truth in that. It's the juxtaposition. What a freaking good word for a Tuesday, eh? In terms of it's better than what we expected at the start of the season, probably, I think, if people are honest. But there's a sadness in what's happened with the last few weeks. That's understandable, because as the pressure and this really key time, there's almost that feeling of we haven't done what we could have done, what could have been. But it is what it is a little bit. I disagree with him a little bit in the sense of everything's been good and performance didn't match. The United game, yes, we threw away 4-3. You look and think, how do we lose that? But then we didn't learn the lessons for the league game. Let's be honest on that. It was the same theory. So we can't say that's a good performance. We didn't learn the lessons and we paid for it. Palace, it felt like a build-up and a knock-on of Atalanta. We were just in a bad place. The Atalanta performance was appalling, that 3-0 at home. Let's not twist it in any way. It was appalling. And then Palace, yes, we just didn't take our chances, but we were so open as well. So I get what he's trying to say, and I get he's going to try and build the momentum because that's what a good manager will do, and it's smart in that regard. But it's not been great for the last few weeks. Yes, Atalanta, we won 1-0. Does it matter? Not really, because it was 3-1, and it kind of petered out. We didn't create anything, as we know, in that second half. So that's also not true. Fulham, it was pretty lousy first half, to be honest. Yeah, there was the bit of Trent magic, which I'll come on to Fulham a bit more, but let's not start pretending that was all good. So I understood how people analyse that. But I get it's also his job to sort of build it, get momentum. So that forms a part in there as well. The next question he was asked was goals from open play and how it must be good and build confidence starting to do that. And he kind of jokes, true. The most beautiful was the set piece. It was good. Again, though, do you look at the goal? Diogo shot, the goalie has his hand on it but cannot save it. 5 centimetres in one direction, the goalie saves it, and that's just how football is. You can't change everything because of inches. We have to create, and we created a lot before. Yes, it feels great if we score from open play, but it's just important that you score. If you play as good as you can and create as much as you can and come into positions to finish them off, then great. That's all how it is. But in the end, it's just important you find the back of the net. And I look at the last few games, you won by 4-1, and it'd be 6 points, even though one was in Europa. I'm not sure what really I agree with anything on that last point, because it was different circumstances completely. But it was great to get 2 goals from open play, 2 good goals from open play, 2 team goals from open play as well. That is positive. Yeah, you want to create, and I get what he's saying. The ultimate point is it doesn't matter how you win at this stage of the season, just that you win. If it was 1-0 with a penalty each week from Salah, wouldn't care less. Wouldn't give a stuff. People could talk about that. It's just about winning. But at the same time, it is about creating as much as we say. And we know we've been wasteful. We could harp on about old things, but I get what he's saying there. And the final question was asked was about Trent and how he would sort of chart that change from when he first came into the team as a kid to the player that we have today. And he'd say, everything as a man. He's a fantastic person from the first day. He's an outstanding talent turned into an outstanding world-class player. It's rare as a manager you're part of this journey for such a long time. Trent's never had a different manager in football before, so it'd be good to him to get new influences, but we can be quite happy with the steps he's made while we're here. Where he is now and seeing what a player he is brilliant. I hope my Bradley comments weren't misunderstood the other day when I saw the headlines. I said, Trent is Trent. Connor was for a while our best player, and he was a revelation, unbelievably good. I saw the headline, and that's not what I wanted to say. Connor is really exceptional too, and it's really nice to have these players with Trent. When you said you've heard quite a lot from Trent recently, I don't think he had something to say, just he was asked a lot of questions, so he answered them. He's one of those stories that not many a club can write, but he's one of those people that will be talked about in 20, 30, 40 years. And it's nice from a boy, which is from West Derby, which is the best you can write. Even in the midst of almost a nothing press conference, he just finds that line, Jurgen Klopp, just get something spot on. That is the one thing I'll miss more than anything. But to go back to this answer, Trent, yeah, the changes. I mean, at the moment, let's be clear, if anything's going to come, it's going to come through Trent. That's clear. You saw the magic against Fulham, but just since he's come back in, even as Atlanta petered out, as he petered out. But while he was fit and firing or available, I don't know how to phrase it, Liverpool had a chance. And that's how it feels at the moment. Anything good is going to come through him. What a player. The way you said about, the learn from a different manager, a new idea. Let's hope this is us with 12 months on the contract. But Trent's sensational at the moment. Let's hope we see that exact same player on Wednesday night. And let's rewind to Sunday, ladies and gents. 3-1. We go ahead through it, as we say, that unbelievable. It's sensational, that Trent free kick. You can't put it another way. after Harvey Elliott has a P-roller sighter, if you want to call it that. Equalised through a sloppy goal. But then the second half, Gravenberch with the strike and Jota to standard to make it 3-1, gives us all 3 points. I mean, honest thoughts on this. It was important just to win, just to keep in touch. That's ultimately the aim thing. You either win or you don't in these games. You can talk about performance a little bit, and then you might get themes and stuff, but just win these games. So it was great to see that. It was a real tale of two halves, though. In the first half, yes, there's that bit of Trent magic. It's unbelievable. And you look and think if anything's going to happen in a good way, it's through him. And in fact, think of those early minutes where he whips in that unbelievable ball and Diaz puts his header wide when he should really bury it. Let's be completely honest. He should do. There was Gakpo shot, but we created pretty much apart from that, fuck all in the first half. We were just knocking it along the back four at no real pace. And we got the goal. You hope they'd see it out, but they didn't. Then there's the second half. It's not the quickest start. And to be fair, you have to be honest, a lot of us were thinking, get subs on here. Endo off, Gravenberch off, but it's a piece of magic. You've got to give him a fair play from Gravenberch. It's a lovely ball in, fired into his feet. It's a great touch. It's a perfect curler, isn't it? I'm not sure it'll be the springboard, but you're hopeful for Ryan Gravenberch, and you have to give him credit for that strike. And you could see he kind of grew in confidence from there. So that was great. And from there, Jota gets there. We play well. And even when Salah and Nunes come on, I mean, Salah has one where he should square it for Nunes and it's a tap in, misses that. Pulled one wide, didn't he? Elliott skewed a shot wide at the same time. Nunes was offside a few times, even in that short space, puts a shot wide. All those types of things, but a lot better. And you just feel like something you can work with. Probably the one thing to say at the same time as well is when we talk about played their way in and out, Cody Gakpo, especially from the left in that second half, you'd say, did really well. So he's got a claim for tomorrow night, which we'll talk about, especially in terms of injuries and what we have to think about. Other players that played their way in, I don't think Endo did enough to stay. I don't think Gravenberch did enough to stay. But I think one of those will. Harvey Elliott, you don't think, okay, for the Merseyside derby, is that the one? I don't think so. Probably what you look more is who was rested. And there was a lot of our first team stars on the bench, or normal starters, it's fair to say, but the rotation worked in this one, and that's all that mattered. It was 3 points, on to the next one. And on to this one. I mean, when we talk about normally the team's threats, I'm not so sure it's the team necessarily for Everton. I mean, this is everything for them. They're desperate. They said they'd shake hands on a draw right now. They're desperate to be able to say, we ended your title tilt. That's everything to them. Ruin our season. That's what they want to do. Make no mistake about it. And I know they need the points, and a win will be massive for them, but they're 5 points from the drop zone. Yes, the second charge, and that's a whole different story, a whole different take to come into it. But as a team, we can't underestimate them as well. They've won 10, they've drawn 8. Without the deductions, they'd be in 14th on 38 points. They just beat Forest at the weekend. I mean, this is the funny thing. How many times in the last few weeks you've seen Everton hold up those corruption cards? Everything's corrupt, isn't it, in the Premier League? It's all corrupt. Everything's against them. Except them free VAR decisions. Now, the handball, I personally don't think was a penalty, but I could see them given. But I would say no. The first one, Ashley Young, I would understand if it's given. I've seen them not. I'm kind of umming and ahhing a little bit about that. The third one on Hudson-Odoi, and when that ref says, the thing comes through from Anthony Taylor that he got the ball, they replayed it. By the way, every replay, he doesn't get the ball, just in case anyone's wondering. But he doesn't get sent to the screen. And there's all this talk, hasn't there, about the Clattenburg scenario and what Neville and Carragher and Sky have called for and all that. That is just a side smokescreen. It's just a classic Kansas City shovel. Ignore all that. It's terrible officiating again. That's what's important to say. It's bad VAR again. I don't buy into all this corruption chat for this one. Just think it's incompetence and bad refereeing. And people now have spoken about this with David Lynch. He's had his say, and, he's quite logical, talks well about it. But for me, abysmal. Just abysmal officiating again. but that's a different thing. So they've got that. They will be trying to whip up that storm, the whole thing they're trying to do. And the thing is, you know how they're going to set up. They're going to pack that midfield. It's a 4-4-1-1, which becomes a 4-5-1. It's probably going to be maybe a Doucouré or someone joining Calvert-Lewin. We know Beto's out. But they'll just pack in the midfield to keep it tight. What is their aim? To nick one off a set piece. Let's be clear of that. To nick one, either on the break or off a set piece, looking for someone like Tarkowski to nod one in. That is their aim. They want to pack that midfield. They want it to, the uglier the game, the better it is for them. Simple as that. They are a threat. This is a game where we don't have a good record. Klopp's got a brilliant Merseyside derby record, but at home, hasn't he? If you look at the last one was 0-0, keep that in mind. These hate us. There's no friendly derby in this. These hate us. They want to end our season. We need to come away from going across Stanley Park more than with just a hot walk. And by the way, if you're not at a hot walk, £7.50 for that box. In fucking insane. Try it, lads, trust me. So now we come to the formation and the lineup where we predict. And the bad news, I've been trying to put this off. I'm sure you've seen it. Jota out for a few weeks. I mean, I'm not putting him in Thiago or Keita's category, but doesn't half get some knocks, does he, or miss games? And some of them seem to be impact injuries again. It's not always just muscle pulls or things like that. But and Paulinho in this, the Fulham boy, rattled him. So you wonder if that's where it is. But just injured a lot, isn't he? Does worry a longer term because he's the one. I mean, he's the one player, you have to be honest. He's got 15 goals this season. It's who shoulda, woulda, couldas. But if he was fit all season, you'd probably think he'd have got 25. Honestly, the goal contributions to him would have been insane, but he just isn't fit. And to be a world-class player, as we talked about with someone like Salah, you talk about it in terms of ability and availability. And it's always going to be that asterisk it just feels against Diogo Jota. If he was fit every week, he'd be such an important player. And whilst he is an important player, I'm not saying he isn't, there is just an asterisk against Diogo Jota. It's a shame. It really is. But there's no sort of soft stories in football. It is a bit worrying. So he would have been in my lineup, just to be clear. He'd been nailed on my number 9. I even wrote an article saying in these types of scuffy games where it might just be an ugly goal for 1-0, I would have started him at number 9. Be clear on that. He would have started for me. But he's not here, so what do we have? For me, I think it'll be Alisson. The back five's quite easy in terms of Trent, VVD, Konate and Robbo. Quansah didn't do anything wrong, and he's a better distributor, a better passer of the ball than Konate, which could be key, especially when we've just been knocking it back and forth a long time. You're looking for someone to make that pass. But Konate's better in the air. He's a beast. And especially against these, that will come into it for me. Midfield. Ando was shite first half, but got better as the game went on. So I know people were thinking Goodison, keep his place, and I understand that. I actually think he'll look to freshen it up completely. And it'll be 3 that didn't start. So it'll be McAllister, Jones, Szoboszlai. That's how I see it. The only question mark for me on that is Szoboszlai may make way for Endo. Szoboszlai was weak again when he came on. I mean, nearly gave a goal away. There's just something, whatever it is, whether it's confidence, one eye in the Euros with Hungary, it's not quite right with Szoboszlai at the moment. And that's not even judging him against the start of the season standards. It's just not good enough what we're seeing. Jones hasn't been good either, and he still feels haunted by that Palace miss. But for me, Jones, McAllister, Szoboszlai. I know people will say that's McAllister into the 6, and what that means, I think that is how it will start, but it's fresh, at least. That's the main thing. And then we come to the forward line. For me, and it would have been sincerely harsh on Cody Gakpo as I'm saying this, but I would have, and I think what would have happened is it would have been Diaz left, Jota middle, Salah right. What I now think it will be is Diaz left, Gakpo middle, Salah right. And I don't like that particularly because we know when Gakpo plays in the middle, he's looked better on the left and he's had an impact from the left recently. He will drop deep. Luis Diaz will be doubled up on, occupied by trying to get Ashley Young. Mo Salah's not quite at it. So I'm not a fan of that forward line. At the same time, the two things with Núñez, he's out of form and he's been wasteful. So those are the things people are looking at as to why he's not been in the team, and that seems fair enough. I also get the feeling now that Klopp's over him. That's just a personal opinion. He dropped him at the end of last season. He thought, could he work his way back in? And he did. It now feels different this time because he wasn't at the start. He's come in, he's kept it in, and look at all those goal contributions. It just feels like with his misses recently and the fact he kept getting taken off, that Klopp is done with him. For me, that's how I see it a little bit, which is a shame. So I think he's a player you have got to put your arm around. And I know people will go, and I get the Núñez, which some people do chant when he's not doing much, but it's to try and give him that confidence and fire him to something more. My only worry is as well, Diaz, Gakpo, Salah, we saw that against Atalanta. He created fuck all. That's just honest. Hardly had any shots. Even the win, fuck all. I can see Gakpo coming deep into an already congested midfield. You're looking for someone who can play higher, just make something happen. I hope I'm wrong on this, but that's how I think. And yeah, there's options still on the bench then. You've got Núñez to bring on, Harvey Elliott as well, people that can change it. But I don't quite feel as good by any means because I think Jota would have started, and that's where we go. So the score and scorer, I think it'll be 1-1. I'm desperate for us to win, and I'll take a win however we get it. Honestly, if someone said to me now, we play shit, but we win 1-0, sorry. Bring it on. Take it all day. It's just the results at the end of the season. It's a derby. It's about a result as well. It would rattle them if we won 1-0 playing shit, wouldn't it? It'd be brilliant. But my gut's telling me a 1-1. I do think that. And it makes their season. I hate to say it, and I'm desperate to be wrong. But 1-1. 1-1 with Salah getting on the score sheet, mainly because of the record he's got against them as well. I'm desperate for us to win. I'm desperate to be wrong and that we get 3 points, but the Jota does feel like a blow a little bit. But yeah, we've won games. Let's see a bit of Gravenberch style mettle from someone like who could produce similar things. It'd be great if one of those midfielders made something happen. We will just have to see. But ladies and gents, it's a derby. There's all to fight for. And that was another post-conference presser from Anfield Index.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.